We are gonna look into a new bicep training study. They wanted to compare the bicep growth between two exercises. Can we grow different parts depending on which angle or which position we have our upper arm in? For instance, in front of our body or behind our body.
Education is important, but big biceps are importanter.
Yeah, which is bigger with you, your biceps or your education?
My biceps, most definitely. Welcome, Daniel, to another episode of Strength Log. My name is Philip Willenstam. I'm a co-founder of Strength Log and a certified nutrition coach.
And I am Daniel Richter, CEO of Strength Log and a certified strength coach. And we are talking about biceps today.
Oh yeah, finally. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Are you doing any bicep training on your own?
I have one workout per week, which includes direct arm work. Yeah. After I do some back work, I do both bicep curls. My favorite at the moment is machine biceps curls, like preacher curls in a machine.
Advanced.
And I do some tricep push downs.
Yeah, so I've been for the last month or the last quarter, I've been doing basically just indirect bicep training from pull-ups and rows and the like. But just like a few weeks ago, I started doing some direct biceps work again. Feels good, man.
Yeah, it feels like I immediately see my arms growing when I add direct work back in.
Yeah, but then the annoying part is that growth usually plateaus then. But on the flip side, it means that maybe with just like a little bit of bicep training, you can at least maintain that level.
Yeah. Because we talked at the end of the last episodes about my recomposition.
Yeah.
Where I've lost weight, but I've kept my fat mass on. And I know that my upper arms are like an inch shorter circumference. And that's because I haven't been training my arms. So they have...
That's just sad, man.
So I want them... I used to have slightly over 50 centimeters. I don't know what that's in inches, but that's an acceptable... I mean, I'm a big guy. A lot of it is fat too, but still 50 centimeters felt good.
Yeah,
I want it back.
We used to have a running joke that if you have more than 45 centimeters of circumference around your upper arms, you don't have to provide references. You don't need citations for your claims.
It's very convenient.
Yeah, exactly. And then we've added more limits in that if you have 40 centimeters around your arms, you need to provide references, but we will believe you if you do so. But if you have below 40 centimeters above your upper arms, we won't believe you even if you provide references.
And this is not dependent of you being a man or a woman. It's the same for both sexes.
Exactly.
So what you're saying is we hardly ever trust anything a woman says.
No, you're making it sound bad. But in today's study, oh my, do we have a lot of women training their biceps? A study with only female participants. Nice. Male researchers, bit suspicious.
In Brazil.
We are gonna look into a new bicep training study, which, well, I've been a bit nihilistic around bicep exercises, pretty much just saying that just do regular bicep curls with a barbell or dumbbell, and that is probably gonna be, if not optimal, then very close to optimal. This study kind of ends that nihilism a little bit for me. Like the barbell curls are still good, but it's changed my opinion a bit. Yeah. So the background for this study is that we have a bunch of studies on tricep training, hamstring training, quadriceps, calves, where we've seen that the growth in them change, like in different portions of the muscle, change depending on the joint angle you keep your upper arm or your thigh in. So for instance, different heads of the triceps and different parts of the different heads of the triceps grow depending on if you keep your arm to the side in a so-called neutral position or if you extend your upper arm above your head. And similar thing goes for quads and hamstrings and calves, that depending on your hip or knee angle, the different parts of these muscles grow. So the research question here is, what about the biceps? Can we grow different parts depending on which angle or which position we have our upper arm in? For instance, in front of our body or behind our body. And the study is out of Brazil. They wanted to compare the bicep growth between two exercises, where one was in the so-called shortened bicep position and one was in the lengthened. And what this means is that the biceps don't actually originate or insert on your upper arm bone. It originates from your shoulder blade, then passes over your shoulder joint, runs along the entire length of your upper arm bone, and then passes over your elbow joint and inserts into your forearm. And this means that if you bring your arm in front of your body, you are shortening the bicep at the shoulder side of things. And if you bring your upper arm behind your body, you are lengthening it. And so they wanted to compare two different exercises where you had your upper arm in these different positions. And 63 young women, university students completed this study. Half of them got to train the preacher curl and half trained the incline curl. The preacher curl is where you put your upper arms up on, well, pretty much a preacher bench. It kind of puts your arms in the preacher position. Your upper arm is about 30 to 45 degrees in front of your body from that neutral position where it's just hanging down by your side. And you do curls. And the incline curl is basically the opposite. You are leaning back on a regular training bench that is inclined about 30 to 45 degrees.
Yeah.
And you let your arms hang down towards the floor, and then with a dumbbell you perform curls. So it's basically the opposite. One has the arm in front of your body and one has the arm behind your body.
And in one of these exercises you're going to feel really strong, and in the other one you're going to feel pretty weak.
Don't you feel weak in both of them?
I've done them both quite a lot, and when I do the incline one, it's like I just lose half of my strength in the upper arm.
That's one of the things I dislike about it. Let's see if we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they trained, both groups, they trained for 8 weeks, twice per week. Every workout they did 3 sets times 8 to 12 reps to failure of their prescribed exercise. It was progressive strength training, meaning that they added weight or reps when they could, and it was supervised. And then they measured muscle thickness with ultrasound before and after the 8 weeks of training at 3 different sites, which is important. They measured it at the middle of the upper arm or the middle of the biceps, and then a few inches closer to the elbow joint and a few inches closer to the shoulder joint. That is, by the way, called proximal and distal, in case either those words pop up in this episode or if you see them somewhere else. You would call it proximal when it's closer to the center of your body and distal when it's further away from your body.
I learned something new today.
Bye-bye,
childhood memories.
So basically one measurement in the middle of the upper arm and then one closer to the shoulder and one closer to the elbow joint to see if there was any differences. And there was, in a beautiful symmetry, because what they saw after 8 weeks of bicep training is that both exercises grew the middle of the upper arm, like the section at the middle of the bicep, grew similarly in both groups, around 9% thickness increase, which is a fine growth. But those who had done preacher curls, they saw more growth closer to the elbow than the incline curl group did, and conversely, the incline curl group, they saw more growth closer to the shoulder than the preacher curl group did. And these differences were about like 30 to 50% in magnitude. So yeah. There was a difference. And just to cover strength gains, those followed the principle of specificity. So the preacher curl group gained more strength in the preacher curl and vice versa for the incline curl.
And we love this.
Yeah,
these results.
Beautiful.
We finally, through the years, people have sent emails or questions on social media, like, why do you have arm programs or bodybuilding programs where you include different variations of biceps curls and stuff like that? Isn't one enough? And well, if you want to truly optimize your bicep development, it's not enough just doing one.
But that used to come from instinct or our upper arm circumference authority.
Yeah, of course. But this is proof, man. The bodybuilders were right all along.
Oh,
finally.
I hate that expression.
I know you do. Also, you lose hair if you take creatine, Daniel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, so this was one big study in support of this, And there are 2 other similar ones. I actually didn't check how many participants those had, but they kind of chime in with these results. One of the studies found greater growth closer to the elbow from preacher curls, but otherwise no difference. And the other one compared incline curls, among other curls, with just regular barbell curls, and they found greater growth close to the shoulder from incline curls. So the picture fits this far. And as mentioned, this was a fairly big study, and they actually recruited 75 students, but 63 completed it. And they did that just to get statistical significance of those small differences in thickness, which might be difficult otherwise. But all 3 measurement results, the differences were significant. So the preacher curl group significantly grew more closer to the elbow, and vice versa for closer to the shoulder. So kudos and well-designed study. So regarding the takeaways from this and the practical applications, one is, well, like you already mentioned, we can say now with some confidence that different bicep exercises fill different purposes. But still, tying back to the introduction of the podcast, I still believe that just performing regular bicep curls in the neutral position will probably go a really long way. But I'm no longer confident in saying that would be optimal.
Yeah, and you can take that even further. So take me, for instance. My favorite at the moment is the machine bicep curls, which is a machine version of preacher curl. And that's the only one I do. Is that optimal? Probably not, but it's better than nothing. And
of course.
You can pick the one you prefer and stick to that one, and you'll get good development of your upper arm. Maybe not optimal, but still better than nothing. And we all are supposed to do a lot of back work as well, like chin-ups, pull-ups, lat pull-downs, rows, and we'll get some added biceps work from those exercises as well.
Yeah.
Add in 1 or 2 curl variations.
For someone who wants to optimize, for example, if your regular bicep workout is 4 sets of regular barbell curls, you could do 2 sets of preacher curls and 2 sets of incline curls instead, and you might see some improvement from that. If you think that's too much of a hassle, just keep doing your regular bicep curls. You'll probably be well off. But if you really want to take an optimal approach to this, it might be worth checking out. But you mentioned something interesting there about losing or feeling weak in the incline curl, and I can second that. And I don't know, something bugs me about that, making me suspect that it's a suboptimal choice if it were to be your only bicep exercise. It's like you're inhibiting some part of your bicep.
Maybe, or it's a variation where you really can't cheat.
Might be that.
That's the feeling I get when I do it. Like, I'm only working my upper arm here. I'm not doing anything else. The reason I don't do standing barbell curls is because I'm totally incapable of not swinging the barbell. I want to keep adding those plates. I want to go heavier. And then I catch myself just being a fucking bro.
The trick for me in those to avoid cheating has been to really focus on building that pump or feeling like I'm building that blood pressure inside the biceps, because then you're like naturally shift to optimizing the technique for that.
Of course, but I don't have that discipline.
I do sometimes, but then you after a certain point you want to avoid the pain, and then you switch the technique to something that lets the blood escape. So before we leave this study, I think it also served as a nice reminder that training your bicep twice per week with 3 sets to fail is a viable program. Absolutely. For beginners, absolutely, but also for someone who's been training for a while and kind of isn't super passionate about bicep training. But if you do this, you'll probably maintain some sort of thickness in your upper arms.
Yeah, and this is like adding less than 10 minutes to your workout when you include it at the end of the workout. You do your compound lifts, you do what's important to you, and then you just add 3 sets to fail. Rest 2 minutes between every set. With the setup of getting the right dumbbell curls or the barbell or a machine or something, and then putting everything back in its place, it's going to be sub 10 minutes. So
That's one of the benefits of many curl variations. The setup time is very limited.
Yeah.
I always like that.
Absolutely. Nice.
Okay.